Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're diving into something that literally impacts every single one of us. We're talking about finding the actual truth in an era of just absolute misinformation. Let's just jump right into it, shall we? We live in this crazy world where our feeds are totally flooded with data, right? But somehow we are starving for actual facts. So, to make sense of all this, we're going to look at the recent and honestly highly revealing experiences of two veteran CBS journalists. These are folks who've dedicated their entire lives to asking the hard questions and uncovering the truth. And yet, they found themselves standing at the exact same crossroads of deception that you and I face every single day. So, here's the big question we're posing today. How do veteran journalists navigate an era where facts are harder than ever to find? I mean, really think about it. If the professionals, the people whose literal job it is to spot a lie, can get tripped up or feel the need to completely change how they deliver information, what does that mean for the rest of us? Well, today, we're going to bridge the gap. We're bridging the gap between proactive empowerment when it comes to our health and defensive critical vigilance when it comes to our finances. We're taking the skills of the anchor desk and we're applying them directly to your everyday life. Section 1. The Anchor Desk Evolves. Norah O'Donnell's Career Pivot. Okay, let's talk about 52-year-old Norah O'Donnell. If you've even glanced at a television in the last couple of decades, you definitely know her face. She has had a massively impressive run. We're talking a 12-year stint in the anchor chair at CBS News, most recently serving as the managing editor and anchor of the CBS Evening News for over 5 years. But just look at her whole trajectory: a decade at NBC News covering the Pentagon, then years as the CBS chief White House correspondent. I mean, she has covered 7 presidential elections and interviewed every living U.S. president. And then, of course, her years as the CBS Evening News anchor. But recently, she made major headlines by stepping down from that iconic desk. Instead of just, riding it out indefinitely, she's taking her razor-sharp investigative skills and pointing them in a brand new direction, launching a new podcast called Healthful. And honestly, her mindset on this is just brilliant. Look at this quote straight from her memo to the staff. "I have spent 12 years in the anchor chair here at CBS News. It's time to do something different. In this super fractured digital news environment we're in, the traditional evening broadcast is changing fast. So O'Donnell made a really proactive choice. She realized that to reach new audiences and to tackle a totally different kind of hard news, the kind that deeply and intimately affects our everyday lives, she needed a new format. She just had to step away from the relentless daily news cycle and focus on long-form, fact-based storytelling." Moving on to Section 2, Healthful, fact-based wellness. So O'Donnell's new project, which drops on July 22nd, tackles a really crucial contrast. On one side, and it's like a messy, fractured landscape out there, we have the current reality of online wellness. It's just vague advice, fear-mongering, and these supposed miracle cures getting pushed by influencers. But on the other side is O'Donnell's journalistic approach. She's bringing in the absolute top doctors, scientists, and innovators who are literally at the forefront of medical research. She's tackling critical, real-world topics, things like menopause, reproductive health, and the really alarming rise of lung cancer in women who have never even smoked. This is all about delivering real information that you can actually use, rather than just scrolling endlessly through confusing internet remedies. But you know what I really love about this new venture? She's actually putting herself in the hot seat too. In a segment called Turning the Tables, O'Donnell humanizes herself by sharing her own highly specific wellness routine. And it is so refreshingly relatable. She does functional strength training 2 to 3 times a week. She takes a 10 to 20-minute walk after dinner to help manage insulin levels. She actually goes to bed super early at 8:30 p.m. She eats blueberries every single day in her morning smoothie. And yes, she unabashedly admits to getting Botox. It just goes to show that even veteran anchors have real, tangible daily health goals just like the rest of us. And this brings us to a quote that perfectly sums up why she made this pivot in the first place. O'Donnell noted that at a time when we have way more access to digital information than at any point in human history, many of us are more confused than ever. It's a profound paradox, right? Finding the actual truth about our health shouldn't require a journalism degree. But sadly, in today's landscape, it really kind of feels like it does. She identified this massive gap between information and truth, and she stepped up to fill it. Section 3, A Journalist's Near Miss. Matt Gutman's scam story. Okay, so we've talked about health misinformation, but now let's take a sharp turn into the incredibly dangerous world of hyper-targeted financial deception. Because if you thought only naive people fell for scams, you absolutely need to hear this story. We're talking about a guy who has literally reported on scams for a living, and he nearly lost everything. Picture this: 48-year-old CBS correspondent Matt Gutman is standing outside a Bank of America branch in Los Angeles. He pulls out his phone and records this terrifyingly honest, vulnerable video, just admitting to the world, I just got completely scammed. He confessed that he came dangerously close to handing over his entire life savings to a fraudster. The illusion was so powerful and so incredibly convincing that it completely bypassed all of his seasoned journalistic defenses. So how in the world did they pull this off? Let's walk through the exact steps of this incredibly sophisticated trap because it's wild. Step 1, he gets a call from someone claiming to be from the bank's fraud protection team. They give him a badge ID and they know an alarming amount of his personal banking details. And what made it feel so real was that they exploited genuine, recent suspicious activity on his daughter's account. Step 2, the caller claims that 2 fraudsters are operating at his local branch under specific aliases, completely drawing him into this intense narrative. And then, Step 3, the devastating hook. They tell Gutman he needs to go into the bank and withdraw all his cash to, quote, trigger the fraudsters into action so law enforcement could catch them. Now here is the exact moment the whole illusion cracked. Gutman was already feeling a bit weird about a regular civilian being roped into a sting operation, but he was following instructions. Then the scammer overplayed their hand. They told him, don't tell the bank employees, they might be in on it. Bam. That was the dramatic turning point. The spell was broken. Gutman's journalistic instincts finally flared to life, the illusion shattered, and he walked right out of the bank totally empty-handed. But he noted the sheer physical danger he was in, because scammers will often lure you to withdraw cash just so they can physically rob you right there in the parking lot. Section 4. Spotting the red flags to protect your wealth. Listen, we can't just hear a harrowing story like that and move on. We need urgent, actionable takeaways here. Gutman's experience proves that these scams are incredibly sophisticated. They're run by people who speak like polished professionals. If a veteran news correspondent can almost get drained of his life savings, you and I need to commit these rules to memory right now. First off, if you get a suspicious call, hang up immediately. Just do not engage. Always call your bank directly using the official number on the back of your card, never, ever a number that they provide. Realize that legitimate banks will absolutely never ask a civilian to withdraw cash for an agent or some sort of sting operation. Also, remember that scammers can easily spoof caller IDs to make it look like a familiar number, so don't trust it. And finally, never agree to keep bank staff in the dark. If you are ever in doubt, just walk into your local branch and speak to someone face to face. So that brings us to our final provocative thought for this explainer. In a world totally saturated with digital miracle cures and insanely sophisticated financial scams, who are you trusting with your health and your wealth? Both Norah O'Donnell and Matt Gutman's stories teach us that facts just aren't handed to us anymore. We have to actively, relentlessly seek them out. Whether it's turning to rigorous science-based podcasts for your wellness or maintaining a fierce, skeptical vigilance over your bank accounts, the power is ultimately in your hands. So stay curious, stay vigilant, and never stop demanding the truth. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.